Starmer's latest TV appearance has sent shockwaves across Britain, and the backlash is palpable. He thought he could waltz through the interview, but the reality check hit hard when the tough questions began. What about the winter fuel cuts for pensioners? The simple inquiry turned his confident demeanor into a stammering mess, and the viewers were left stunned. How can a leader justify stripping away up to £300 from the very people who've dedicated their lives to working and paying taxes? His feeble excuse? A damaged economy that he claims he inherited. But let's get real, that's just a cop-out for a leader failing to connect with the people he claims to serve. Starmer walked into that studio thinking he had it all figured out, but he was in for a rude awakening. Initially, he fired off his rehearsed lines about the economy, but it all fell apart when the interviewer pressed him on the cuts affecting the most vulnerable. The moment the question landed, you could see the color drain from his face. The rehearsed confidence evaporated, replaced by awkward fidgeting and a palpable unease. When the interviewer demanded to know if he would apologize to the pensioners suffering as a result of these cuts, Starmer faltered. He rambled on about the bigger picture and tough decisions, but not once did he utter a word of apology. It was cringeworthy, watching a man unravel on live television, desperately trying to defend the indefensible. By the end of the interview, his charisma had disappeared, his tie askew, beads of sweat trickling down his brow, and that once confident smile nowhere to be found. The aftermath was brutal. Clips of the interview went viral, and the public reaction was swift and unforgiving. Even some Labour supporters were left cringing, dubbing it the worst political interview ever. The headlines the next day were merciless. Starmer stumbles, Labour leader speechless, pensioners suffer. This incident isn't just a bad moment. It exposes serious cracks in Labour's policies and leadership. How can Starmer claim to be a champion for the working class while simultaneously cutting aid for the most vulnerable? If he can't withstand tough scrutiny in an interview, how is he supposed to handle the pressures of running the country? The ramifications of this meltdown are far-reaching. While Starmer stutters through his explanations, real people like Margaret, a 73-year-old pensioner from Newcastle, are left to grapple with the harsh reality of these cuts. After a lifetime of hard work, she's now faced with a gut-wrenching choice: heat her home or buy food. "I never thought I'd be scared to turn on my heating," she confesses, revealing the true human cost of these policies. With the new winter fuel payment policy, only pensioners on pension credit will receive support, leaving countless others out in the cold, literally and figuratively. The statistics are staggering. Over 4 million pensioners live in fuel poverty, and the implications of cold homes extend beyond discomfort. They lead to increased hospital visits and serious health concerns. Pensioner advocacy groups are rightfully furious, pointing out that this policy disproportionately affects those who barely scrape by. Starmer talks about making tough decisions, but he isn't the one freezing under a blanket, wondering how to afford basic necessities. Starmer's leadership is becoming untenable, and the cracks are showing. His party is alienating its core supporters, and older voters are increasingly disillusioned. This isn't just about losing votes, it's about real people suffering due to misguided policies. Labour's historical identity as the party for the working class is slipping away, and Starmer's inability to acknowledge the consequences of his leadership is a glaring problem. As winter approaches, Labour is facing the fallout from Starmer's decisions. His approval ratings resemble a ski slope, plunging into the depths of unpopularity. Once touted as Labour's golden boy, those days are long gone. Before the disastrous interview, Starmer was already struggling with his ratings, but now they've plummeted further than anyone could have anticipated. Polls reveal a shocking loss of support across demographics, from young voters to traditional working-class bases. Starmer is now the least popular Labour leader in decades, and the trust in his ability to lead is evaporating. Despite these setbacks, there's a curious reality. Some still prefer him over alternative candidates for Prime Minister. But that's cold comfort when your party is descending into chaos. Behind the scenes, panic reigns. Secret meetings are rife, with MPs frantically discussing the future of Starmer's leadership. The whispers of discontent are growing louder, and the unity that Labour desperately needs is fraying. As the party grapples with its identity crisis, other political entities are poised to capitalise on Labour's misfortunes. Reform UK is gaining traction, drawing in disillusioned voters from both Labour and the Conservatives. Their straightforward approach resonates with those feeling neglected by the established parties, and they're not afraid to hit Labour where it hurts. Nigel Farage and his cohorts are positioning themselves as champions of the working class, contrasting sharply with Starmer's muddled messaging. The stakes are high, and the pressure is mounting on Labour to demonstrate they can navigate these economic challenges. The country is watching closely, and the growing dissatisfaction with Labour's economic plans could spell disaster. With zero growth reported and approval ratings plummeting, the question remains, can Starmer turn this ship around, or is Labour destined for a political grave? In the coming months, the focus will be on the local and mayoral elections. If Labour performs poorly, it could seal Starmer's fate. But success could provide a lifeline, however tenuous. The clock is ticking, and the political landscape is shifting. Will Starmer rise from the ashes, or will he become another footnote in the annals of political failure? As the fallout continues, one thing is certain: the next chapter in British politics promises to be anything but dull, and the ramifications of Starmer's blunders will reverberate for years to come.